Eventually, I want to show how we can use scikit-learn to perform linear regression, but first I want to show how we can generate some random data for linear regression using scikit-learn. So from sklearn.datasets, I'm going to import make regression. And what I believe you should think when you see something like this is that because this is starting with lowercase letters, I think you should imagine that this is going to be like a function that we use as opposed to some object generator. So for example, we saw standard scalar last week, and that was with a capital S, or both capital S's for standard scalar. Here, because they're lowercase letters, we shouldn't think of this as something that's going to create an object. Instead, we should just think of it as some function. And let's get some information about this make regression. And so in particular, I want to look at what are the different inputs. So n samples equals 100, that's fine. N features, this is like, feature is like input variable. So this is like saying we're going to have 100 different input variables, and that's way more than I want. Actually, to begin with, I want to have just one input feature. And then there's some other things too, but let's just stick with this for now. So let's use make regression. Okay, and then I'm going to say n features equals just 1. And let's see what this produces. So let's save this as t. And let's see what type of thing t is. So again, it's a tuple. So this is following the previous video about unpacking. And what's the length of this tuple? Hey, it's 2 again. And let's check what types of things are in it. So like, what's the type of t bracket 0? So this is a NumPy array. And like, what's the shape of this? It's 100 by 1. Oh, what's the type of t bracket 1? Okay, also a NumPy array. And what's the shape of this going to be? Okay, this is also 100. And so in the, well, let's just start over. So remember, I imported pyplot from matplotlib as plt. And so let me use this subplots method of plt, or maybe I should call it subplots function. And we'll have this return fig and x. And then let's say x.plot t bracket 0, t bracket 1. So that sure looks like something we could use linear regression on. Already looks like a line. Maybe it would be better for me, instead of using plot, to use scatter. So that's probably what I should have done instead. So here we can see these are like 100 points all lying on a line. And let me get this make regression again. And let's use fewer points. Let's use just 10. So let's say n samples equals 10. And the whole point of that last video was about tuple unpacking. And so let's unpack this as x and y. And there's another keyword argument I want to use. Let me see if I can find it in here. So this is the keyword argument coef, and it is supposed to be provided a value of a Boolean, so either true or false. And if it's true, then the coefficients, so we're making a line like y equals m times x plus b. And this is saying, should we return that random coefficient m? So let's try this and see what happens. So we're going to say coef equals true and see what happens. So I get this value error, too many values to unpack. it expected 2. So what that's saying here is I gave it 2 variable names, but this is returning more than 2 elements. So how can I fix that? Or like what causes the problem? Well, the problem is that unlike before, I said it should also return this coefficient. Okay, so let me call this m. Okay, and now this works fine. And if I check what is m, I get this 36.6. And let's do fig x equals plt.subplots. And let's say x.scatter. And let's put in x and y. So remember I said I wanted to only have 10 points. So there should be 10 points here. Okay, maybe 2 of them overlap pretty heavily. And the slope of this line should be approximately, or should be approximately 37. And so does that look about right? Well, as we go from 0 to 1, yeah, it looks like this line goes up to about 37. So this seems to be working as expected. So we'll actually use some of this data to perform linear regression in one of the next videos.